Welcome to Finding Certainty with your host and U.S. Army veteran, Patrick Laing. Over the next hour, you'll learn from Patrick and his expert guests how to attract more certainty into your business and your life. Now, here is your host, Patrick Laing.
Good morning and welcome to Finding Certainty. I really love ending the week like this. I look forward to it all week, whether I'm having a guest, as I typically do, doing an interview, or if I'm doing a monologue. It's kind of like the cherry on top of my week. I hope it is for you as well. So we go into the weekend, get to spend a little bit of time together and unpack this topic that is so important of how to reduce the uncertainty in our lives and create greater certainty. As you know, if you've been with me the last few months, I made a goal first of the year to start doing a monologue on the first Friday of each month. And since today is Friday, April 5th, today is that day. Now, I'm going through the alphabet, as it were. I started with accountability in January, balance in February. Last month, I spoke about composure. And this month, I decided to do D is for discipline. Obviously, discipline is a topic many of us think about, we struggle with, we wish we were better at. I know I am, and I do, and I feel that way often. But so I thought it'd be a good exercise today to break it down a little bit, share with you some of the things I'm working on personally and some of the lessons that I've learned, some of the mentors I've had, the books I've read, all surrounding and in support of this topic that is so important. You know, one of my favorite movies is the movie Rudy. It had Sean Astin in it. He was a little small football player, about 5'6" or something like that, and he had this dream to play for Notre Dame, one of the top-rated football programs in the nation. And it tells his story of outworking everyone else on the team, of just being disciplined enough and putting the effort in to actually earn a spot on the team and eventually a spot on the field. And it's an inspiring story. I actually saw it 3 times in 3 days. I was so impressed by it. And one time his coach said, "I wish I could put your spirit in my players' bodies." And, I think discipline, when it comes down to being disciplined and accomplishing what we want to accomplish and tackling our goals and our habits and so forth, a lot of the time it's just that spirit that we have to find in ourselves, that certainty of character that we have to develop. There's a lot of movies out there, Cool Runnings and Remember the Titans, The Hoosiers, Miracle. Seems like many of the sports-related movies, which are some of my favorites, they're constantly giving us examples of teams and individuals who have illustrated and magnified this character or characteristic. So why do they inspire us so much? I mean, many of us are competitive by nature, and we get into the competition, and we know, though, that these examples are examples of people and teams that are fulfilling their potential. They're putting in the time and effort. They're achieving greatness, right? And I think there's a little bit of us, deep inside each one of us, to do the same. Sure, there's a lot of lazy butts out there who don't care, but most of us, we want to do more. We want to look back on our lives and have no regrets, right? We want to look back and know that we achieved our potential. Now, discipline, it takes time. It takes patience. It takes skill, right? It's an acquired skill. It's not something that just happens overnight. No habit is broken overnight. No talent is acquired overnight. No relationship is built. No business is built. They all take time and effort. And ultimately, that is at the heart of true discipline: time and effort, persistence and patience, sticking with it, not giving up, right? Whether it's in business or in life, in our relationships, it doesn't matter what it is we are going after. it takes time. I mean, relationships are a daily exercise in discipline and patience, right? Not mine. My wife is wonderful. I'll put a shout out to her. Tesha is my best friend and the best thing that ever happened to me. And as far as partners go, she's one of the easiest, most patient, most supportive people I ever met. But relationships take work. They do take discipline. Even when you're married to an extraordinary woman or extraordinary partner who is a saint, it still takes effort, and we can't take it for granted. So I could have talked about consistency last year. I thought about, or last month, I thought about using C as for consistency. I decided to go with composure, which in a very real sense is another form of discipline. I actually spoke a little bit about being disciplined and showing composure last month as I broke down that topic. If you'd like to go back and listen to that episode, I encourage you to. But it is a different type of discipline, and the two are interchangeable in a sense. I guess you could say that last month was my March St. Patrick's Day special. This month is a continuation of that topic in a very real sense. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail, but ultimately, in business or in life, in relationships and parenting and sports and everything, it's about not giving up, right? Daily, disciplined, consistent, patient efforts. It's about pressing forward. We've all heard the saying about failing forward because we all fail. You know, nobody gets out of life without making mistakes, falling on our faces, and failing in what we do. That's part of the learning process. So we ride a bike, right? We fall down. Time, we figure it out. We learn balance, and we're able to ride without even thinking about it. And that's the ultimate goal, right? Whatever our goals are, it's to be able to do it automatically. You know, do it by rote, by not, or do it as second nature, right? But that does not happen. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen immediately. Thomas Edison took him 1,000 attempts to create the light bulb. And in fact, I've heard quotes from him that he didn't fail 999 times. He found 999 ways to not make a light bulb. I like that. It's a little bit of perspective. But the same principles apply in a lot of different areas. They apply in business and life. They apply in talents and talent development, in marriage. I've been married 3 times. Not something I'm proud of necessarily. Married to my best friend from high school for 7 years. Married to my children's mother for 9 years. Both of those ended unexpectedly. There were things we could have done better. But I'm on my 3rd marriage. But you know what? It's been worth it in the long run. Failure is painful. It's trying. It stretches you. It can be devastating. But if you can learn to fail forward and to continue to press forward, whether it's in life, in business, in relationships, then amazing things come from it. You learn lessons from it, and you become more than you were before. Had I given up the second time and never gotten married, marriage number 2, I wouldn't have my 5 children. I wouldn't have experienced all that we did, and I wouldn't have those relationships to this day. Had I given up on marriage after the second marriage and not gone for it the 3rd time, I wouldn't have the extraordinary relationship that I have today and the love of my life. And so that's a really important principle when it comes to discipline is disciplined persistence. Don't give up. You'll be amazed by the outcome. I hear of people, well, I'll never get married again. I think they're missing out by not giving love a chance. I'm going to talk about 3 disciplines that I believe need to exist in business, since this is the Voice America Business channel. But I'll tell you a little bit more about this later. I want to share 7 examples of personal discipline goals in my life. I'm going to use those as a backdrop to illustrate just how discipline can work in our lives, what we should be doing, what we can be doing, and how it can help us in our own lives. Okay, that's what I'm going to do today. So let's jump into it. The first example that I wanted to share with you is, well, first, let me ask you a question. Okay, why should we care? Right? Why does it matter that we become more disciplined as individuals, as business owners, as significant others, parents, et cetera, et cetera? Well, first, as I said, discipline is the secret to any success. It will never happen without a concentrated, disciplined effort. It's not just required. It's not just helpful. It is absolutely mandatory. I mean, it's the framework. It's the foundation of anything that we want to accomplish. Anyone who wants to achieve their potential has got to be disciplined. If you want to end your life with zero regrets, you're going to have years and years of disciplined effort. We may never be an Olympic athlete, but in our own small ways, we can go for the gold in our own lives and efforts. So one of the goals that I have that I thought I'd share with you, I'm going to go throughout my day from beginning to end. Okay, so the first lesson I would say is to jump in. Don't wait. Okay, don't procrastinate. I have a goal every morning to, when my alarm hits 6 a.m., that my feet hit the ground before it changes to 6:01. Okay, it's to jump immediately out of bed. I try to get up, and without waking my wife up, I turn my alarm off. I have a CPAP, which I have to use for sleep apnea. I unplug that, the canister, take the thing off, grab my phone, and hit the ground. And I try to do it all by 6:01. So the very first thing I do for the day is try to be disciplined. And it starts my day out right. I remember a video I saw years ago by an Admiral McRaven. He was speaking to the University of Texas, and he shared 10 lessons that he learned as a Navy SEAL. The very first lesson he shared was the habit, the goal, and the military is required, but the goal of making your bed first thing in the morning. He says the same thing. He says, you start the day disciplined. You accomplish the first task of the day. It gives you a little burst of energy, gives you a small amount of pride. It teaches you that small things matter. And then he says, which I love this, he says, and if by chance you have a miserable day, you come home to a bed that is made. And it's a little reminder that tomorrow will be better. I love that. You know, as we're working away at these goals and as trying to be disciplined, trying to be more composed, more balanced, to be more accountable, it's great to have little shots in the arm, little boosts, reminding us that we can do it, that it's worth the effort. My wife appreciates it too. She wakes up and my side of the bed is made. All I do is fold the blanket in half and lay it out, and it's good, right? So, but I think she likes waking up and seeing the bed made next to her. It's a little shot in the arm for her as well. It's interesting because when we are disciplined, there are ripple effects, and it affects those around us, and has very much a domino effect. One of the things we should do if we are trying to be disciplined is schedule discipline, schedule these goals, do them at the same time every day. You know, it's like every week I know I have this radio show, 9 a.m. Pacific on Friday morning. It's scheduled. I'm planning for it. I have to prepare for it. It's a challenge because this is a live recording. This is not pre-recorded. I'm doing this off the cuff. When I meet with a guest and interview them, I have no idea what they're going to say. I have no idea where the show is going to go. And it is an exercise in preparation, in flexibility, and in discipline. Being ready, being there week after week in, week out, week after week after week. Now, occasionally I've had a challenge or conflict because I'm traveling or something, I have to take my portable mic with me and do it on the road, or I've had to pre-record a couple of sessions. But it's really interesting because it's a weekly, consistent exercise in discipline. I was invited to be on a show recently with Bonnie D. Graham, aka Radio Red. She was my guest on my show last week, and she has a show called Next to the Mic where she interviews radio hosts, and we talked about this weekly exercise, which is quite amazing. But ground running, I try to hit the ground by 6:01 every morning. It's my first effort at being disciplined. Kind of like Indiana Jones stepping off into the dark as he was going after the Holy Grail. He didn't know where his feet would land, but stepping into the dark was the first step. Okay, got to keep going here. I'm only going to do one break today because there's a lot to cover. But the second goal that I have is to read something every morning to try to get better. Okay, I read a nonfiction book first thing, and between you and me, I'd read it while I'm sitting on the toilet. And I'll take 10 minutes or so and read something to help learn something. Okay, it's about self-motivation or discipline or leadership. Or right now I've been reading a book called Real Love. I read every morning because none of us have all the answers. There's a lot of experts out there. And it's important that we gain additional perspectives. We can shorten our learning curves when we learn from experts who've gone before us. We can learn shortcuts. We can gain insights. We can gain knowledge in a fraction of the time that it took them to develop that experience and that expertise. Talk about shortening the learning curve. I've been studying emotional intelligence lately. I've had a couple of guests on my show, Jay Levin, Virginia Knudsen, and others that are experts in emotional intelligence, which is ultimately the exercise of disciplining our thoughts and our actions, our responses, being more disciplined than the emotional, catalyst or stimulus or whatever would normally encourage us to be. Thinking through our response, putting ourselves in the other person's shoes, etc. Virginia shared a really wonderful example that she calls the green frog theory. And it's something she's taught to her children, her grandchildren, etc., etc. And it teaches that when someone says, you're stupid, or you're that's a waste of effort, or you're just not a disciplined person, or whatever they say, whatever the insult might be. The reason that bothers us is part of us wonders if it's true. We think, maybe they're onto something. She describes them as a green frog. This is what she's taught to her family. She says, if someone said to you, Patrick, you're a green frog, well, the first thought that would come to your head, what are you talking about? I'm not a green frog. It makes zero sense. Every argument, every difference of opinion as a green frog. She says it puts it in perspective. It makes you question it and think about what they're saying, whether they're just being a bully, they're being rude. You can open your mind to it. You can be open to it as a second response. But the first response you should always have is, I'm not a green frog. Or that's not a green frog. That's a green frog. If you learn to discipline your thoughts, you can change your entire life. A friend who has a short fuse, he tends to blow up at people. He's chewed out our customers. He's chewed out a lot of people. And I've learned to put myself in his shoes. I know he's hurting. He had a terrible childhood. I know he's angry. And while we don't have to hang out, I don't have to cut him out of my life. I've learned to take him and others in stride. Learn to take them with a grain of salt. It's again part of being disciplined in our emotions and our perspectives and our responses is putting ourselves in another's shoes. There are three options, and this is taught in the Real Love book by Dr. Greg Bear. He says we can live with it and like it. We can live with it and hate it, or we can choose to leave. This applies in any relationship. It applies in any business. It applies in anything we do. We can choose to have real conversations about anger management and discipline. We can really listen to people. I've done this with my friend and been a friend and had real talk with him, and he's really appreciated it. But I didn't judge him. I didn't criticize him. I just worked with him and he with me. I've had mentors who've done the same for me, and I really appreciate it. The only true freedom that any of us have is to choose our response in any situation. One of the best books I've ever read was Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. He was a Holocaust victim, a doctor who went through the Holocaust. And he says, we all remember that prisoner who would go through the camp and lift others up and share their last piece of bread. And they were a light to others. That is such a valuable lesson, such a powerful reminder. It is a secret to relationships and joy, to be disciplined enough to be that person who maintains that perspective, remembers the green frog theory, puts herself in others' shoes, and tries to raise others around us rather than bring them down. Okay, moving on. The third goal that I have, you might be surprised to hear this, but my third goal is to either take a cold plunge in the pool or take a cold shower first thing in the morning. We have a pool that I'll go at, and in the winter especially, it is bitter cold. And they don't heat it. It's too expensive. It is an exercise in discipline, if nothing else is, because in our body, we don't like to be uncomfortable. We have this thought that being cold is uncomfortable. And so to go out and just jump into the pool, I go down the stairs and plunge into the pool and swim across and back and forth a few times. And the whole time you're catching your breath. I do it because it is such an invigorating burst to the morning, to the day, okay? It reminds me that we can do hard things. When we do them, they get easier. Don't be afraid to shock the system, whether that's you physically or in relation to do hard things. You can Google or go on YouTube and look up Wim Hof. He's the kind of the godfather of cold water therapy. There's another lady named Susanna Soberg, who's Danish, I believe, and they talk about all the benefits of cold water therapy. If I take a shower now, I start it cold and I get right in, and it's such a shock to the system. But it's interesting because not only is it refreshing, it really gets your blood pumping. They say it creates more brown tissue, which is adipose tissue, which is really good for you. Gets your circulation going, et cetera, et cetera. But I really like it. And I'm actually to the point now. I've been doing it now for several weeks. I look forward to it, which might sound crazy, and it's getting easier. And like all things, from the first time to today, it's becoming a habit. And it's something that if I don't do it, I miss it. There's been times where I didn't make it, and I wish I could. I wish I had, and so literally I started with the cold plunges in the pool, and now I do the cold shower, and it just takes me, I let it run cold for a minute or two, and the whole time you're catching your breath and breathing deep and waiting for it to warm up. After I get in the cold pool, I get in the hot tub and spend some time. But one of my favorite verses from the scriptures says that if we want to develop faith in something, we need to plant that seed in our heart and let it grow. Give it a chance. And when it does, three things happen. It enlarges your soul, so you feel it more. It enlightens your understanding. You understand it better. You understand the value. You understand what you gained from it. And then it says it becomes desirable, which basically means you want it more. And that's where I'm at now. I want to get in the cold pool every morning. It's not just a terror. I actually look forward to it. So it's really incredible. So we're going to take a quick break so you can look at our advertisers and they can look at you. Thanks for being with me today on Finding Certainty. When I come back, I'll share goal number 4. Be right back.
Follow Voice America at facebook.com/Voice America for juicy updates from your favorite radio shows and podcasts.
Certainty Management can help create more certainty in your life with our deep discount health insurance options, even for 1099s, part-time employees, volunteers, and more. Pay less to protect yourself, your loved ones, and your team. Call 888-684-3122 for a free quote today. That's 888-684-3122. Visit us on the web at CertaintyTeam.com. That's Certainty, TEAM, like Mary.com.
Have you become a member yet? Sign up now to become a member of Voice America. It's always free and easy. Plus, you get to take advantage of some great member benefits. Get unlimited access to millions of hours of on-demand content across all of our channels. Keep track of your favorite episodes, shows, and hosts in your own customizable library. Find out what shows you might be interested in based on your favorites. Plus, you get insider access with our newsletter. Membership gives you more. Sign up at voiceamerica.com and click register at the top right.
If you're a nonprofit in need of funding, we can help. Certainty Management is a cost reduction firm that also helps churches, schools, sports teams, and other nonprofits raise unlimited zero-cost funding. Best of all, you don't have to sell anything or ask for donations. Call 888-684-3122 to learn more today. That's 888-684-3122. Visit us on the web at CertaintyTeam.com. That's Certainty, TEAM, like Mary.com.
When it comes to business, you'll find the experts here. Voice America Business Network.
You're listening to Finding Certainty with Patrick Laing. Have a question for Patrick or his guests? Join us on the show at 866-472-5790. That's 866-472-5790. Now, back to the show with Patrick.
Welcome back to Finding Certainty. Appreciate you taking some time to join me on this beautiful Friday morning. You may know this, but I live in Henderson, Nevada. This is the time of year we all look forward to here in Nevada. The weather is perfect. 70s. It's going to be 80s next weekend. And it gets hot. It gets real hot. Anyway, so here's goal number 4 each day. I started this with our team recently, and that is that every time we have a win, and we're a sales organization, so if we have a win, we post it to our team channel. We have an app that we created called Certainty Connect. And ultimately, this goal is about celebrating our wins, right? I worked with a organization in Portland, Oregon for 7 years. It was a remodeling company, and we did this. Every time a rep made a sale, I would text it out to the entire team and say, Reggie made another sale, Jason made another sale, etc. And there were 3 benefits that come out of that. You either see, man, if Reggie can do it, I can do it, or like, man, nice job, bud. And they start texting each other and encouraging and complimenting each other, congratulating. And then those who are maybe struggling, they're frustrated, haven't made a sale in a while, they see those posts and they're like, man, somebody's going to buy this. There are customers out there buying it. I just need to find one. I need to do my job. And so all of that disciplined effort every day of rewarding and congratulating ourselves on our efforts, I think is really important, whether it's as a sales organization or in our own lives. Okay. Reward yourself. Give yourself little, pats on the back. Maybe you say, hey, I'm going to go get an ice cream cone if I can make a sale this week, or whatever, right? It could be anything. We reward ourselves with a vacation at the end of the year or throughout the year after all of our hard work. I'm a big movie buff. I remember the movie What About Bob with Bill Murray, and he was a kind of neurotic guy, had some emotional or mental health problems, but his therapist taught him baby steps. Take baby steps, reward yourself, and he would be able to get over his challenges and become what he could. So that's a little one, but it is a goal that we try to do, to try to shout it out since the team started. They're putting their personality in it. They're putting little icons. Guy in Florida has a dolphin on his. A lady in Hawaii has a flower. I mean, it's fun. And think there's something to be said about working with each other and encouraging each other along. My fifth goal is to drink a gallon of water and to eat 6 times per day. And again, it's about consistency, right? I'm trying to lose some weight. I'm 6'4", 80 for 200 years. I turned 40 and that jumped to 200. I turned 50 and it jumped to 250. Partly I had to have a surgery that put me out of commission for about a year. And I think just my metabolism slowing down. And so I have this goal to lose weight. And one of the ways I'm trying to do that is by getting my metabolism burning and eating more often throughout the day to keep it burning and burn it off. So my body doesn't think I'm starving and wants to hold on to any belly fat or any visceral fat or whatever that I've developed. It's funny. I look in a picture, I think, who's that chubby guy? And then I look closer and that's me. I don't like that because I was always a basketball player, slender, tall, and slim. And so a shout out to Stevie Long, who's my dietitian and my coach in Roanoke, Virginia. She's a good friend of ours. She's cheering me on, and I am trying to do it. But this one is hard for me, though, because the day passes quickly. I'm supposed to eat every 2 hours. There's a little snack or a lunch or a snack or a dinner, and it is hard to do. I can literally have a bottle of water sitting on my desk in front of me, and I will forget to drink it because I'm too focused on my Zooms and my calls and my emails and so forth. And so the reminder or the lesson that I have for you is to make sure you have helps. Those can be mentors and coaches, but they can also just be little things like I put a timer on my computer. I use this little app called the Egg Timer, EG.G timer, I think is what it is. You can find it, but it just does a countdown. And so it beeps at me every 30 minutes and says, drink your water, or every 2 hours, go eat some food. Because I will literally go 6 hours without eating or the whole day without drinking if I don't set those helps. I have Post-its on our fridge. I have a menu on the fridge. I have, et cetera, et cetera. Make it easy. I have easy meals to create, whether it's just a packet of oatmeal or some string cheese and an apple, or, we got to do what we can to make it easy, or as easy as possible when we're trying to accomplish goals, break habits, and develop discipline. Small meals are important. It's better to do something daily consistently than it is to do it 2 times a week. I've been taking a piano course, an online piano course from a guy named Stephen Ridley, and he says the same thing. He says, it's better for you to practice 10 minutes every day than 2 hours on Saturday. You will get more out of it. Speaking of consistency, my grandmother, Lucille Tate, was an accomplished author, and she taught that she wrote at the same time every day for the same period of time every day. She passed away several years ago, but she published multiple books, mostly biographies. But she did that by making sure it was a daily, consistent effort. And that is a key to being disciplined, is key to accomplishing anything in our lives. She was able to write multiple books because she did it every single day. So whether that's sales efforts, whether it's something for your spouse, I encourage you to do it. My next goal is about, there's several I could choose. I mean, no texting and driving, avoiding distractions and temptations, staying in touch with my kids and my parents, try to call them every week, reconciling my accounting before it gets too far behind. Those are all goals, but all of these are goals I have. The goal I think that I want to talk about, or that I mentioned, is that I have a goal to stop working by no later than 8 p.m. and ideally 7 p.m. My goal is to stop by 7 and to eat before 8. That's hard for me too. When you own your own business, it's 24/7. I've worked many, many nights into the wee hours of the morning. Like just this last week, I pulled 2 all-nighters getting ready for a big meeting, and that was very important. But this goal to stop by 7 is a goal, and it's an example of me trying to keep my priorities straight. Because as important as the business is, as demanding as it is, it's not as important as my marriage. It's not as important as my health. It's important that I keep my priorities top of mind. And this is one way I'm trying to do that. It's hard. I'll tell you, it's one of the most difficult ones for me. But it's about changing one's mindset, right? There's always another deadline. There's always going to be another project. And I've operated under the fallacy that I just need to get done with these projects and then I can slow down. Well, before you know it, you're 80 and you never did. They say nobody on their deathbed says they wish they spent more time at the office. And so it's about putting first things first, spending a little bit of time with my sweetheart, even if it's just dinner on the couch, watching Blue Bloods or something like that. It's important. I want to give 3 tips for business discipline. The first is to just decide to do it. Change your paradigm. Decide it's important. Remind yourself of the benefits. Make up your mind. And then figure out ways to work smarter, not harder. I've done things like I'm trying to do shorter meetings, faster email responses, be less wordy, more efficient. I mean, we are an efficiency firm, but I've got to be efficient in my own life. That's first make the decision, and second, implement changes to make yourself more efficient throughout the day. A third tip that I've been doing that I really am enjoying is that I try to touch things once. It's really interesting because it's so easy to throw, take your shirt off, throw it on the floor and put it in the hamper later, or put your dishes in the sink, and get around to it when you get to it. But what I've started doing over this last about a month now, I started on my birthday, February 25th. I said, I'm going to touch everything I can one time. So I eat, I take my plate to the sink, I immediately wash it, dry it, and put it away. I don't even put it on a towel and let it dry. I wash it, dry it, and put it away. So I don't have to come back and touch it twice. You know what's really interesting about that, guys, is that although it sounds like it would take more time, it really eliminates time. You don't have to come back and repeat those actions or continue those actions 2-3 times to get them done. I do my own laundry. Laundry comes out of the dryer. I pull it out of the basket. I set the basket on the couch. I turn on the TV, but I fold the clothes and put them away before I do anything else. It takes me 5 minutes instead of letting them sit there for 3 days, getting wrinkled until I get around to it. It's so interesting. It's so invigorating. And my wife loves it too, because there's no dirty dishes sitting in the sink. There's no laundry sitting around. There's no stuff on the floor. There's no, it's amazing. And so it might sound like a really simple thing, but when it comes to freeing up time and being more efficient, it's a really great reminder. And I'm really enjoying it. So, okay, so that's goal number 6. Goal number 7 is kind of 2-part. Okay. I don't think we can improve anything if we don't measure it, if we don't reflect on it, if we don't analyze it. I don't think anything will ever get better. That's why we have written goals. I say you should write your goals down, write them in present tense, because your subconscious doesn't know the difference between real and make-believe or past, present, future. Write them down, put pictures up, visualize them, and then review them daily. I review my progress, let's call it, in 3 different ways. I read my goals first thing in the morning. I do have pictures. I have things written out, my bucket list, my goals, etc., etc. At the end of the day, I do a journal entry. I have this really great app. It's a free app you can download. It's JRNL. It stands for journal. And what I do is I post a picture and then I write a little paragraph about it. Every day I take a lot of pictures, and that's how I remember what I did. But I post a picture or 2 and write a little paragraph about it. Gives me a chance to think about the day. What was important that day? What happened? How did I do? What's happening in my life? I've really enjoyed this. I have about 500 entries in this journal now. Every one of them with a picture, every one of them with a comment or a thought or a question. It's been extraordinary. And then the last thing I do, to each their own, but I say my prayers. On my knees, Again, that's a discipline move for me. It's so easy to lay in bed and pray laying down. If I'm tired, it's late, but I force myself to kneel and say my prayers. And in a very real sense, it's a chance to reflect on my day, to express gratitude, to thank God for my blessings, to do a personal inventory, and again, to try to analyze how I'm doing and where I could do better the next day. It's been fantastic for me. It's, writing my thoughts down as a journal entry and then talking them out during a prayer for a few minutes. It is a perfect end to a perfect day. And even when days go bad, it's still a perfect end. That personal reflection and measurement and analysis has just really done wonders in my life. I think you've heard me talk about this. If you're on the YouTube channel, you can actually see I'm wearing one of my favorite shirts. It's a blue Realtree shirt. It's a fishing shirt. And discipline is very much a part of a fisherman's life. You have to be disciplined to learn how to fish, to be patient as you fish, especially as a fly fisherman that I am. It's most definitely a part of who I am and what I do. I also use a little app called the Strides app, Strides. You can establish goals and check off as you do them each day. I like doing that. It's another way to measure what I am working on and try to get better at it. So whether you are big into prayer, whether you think you'd want to be into journaling, whatever you choose to do, I just strongly recommend that one of your goals is to measure what you're doing. The Strides app is a great approach, but measure into it. Personally, I like tapping into a higher power and getting some help and feedback and inspiration. As a couple, it's bonding to pray together. And especially when you hear them pray for you, and you pray for them. And that's, I think, one of the most powerful things you can do in a relationship is to show that unconditional love and support for each other and faith in what you're building. So anyway, enough about that. I mentioned that I'd share 3 disciplines in business that I think are important. I want to share those real quick before we run out of time here. The first is simple work ethic, right? You've got to put in the time. You've got to put in the effort. Nobody's going to buy from you if you're sitting on a couch eating Doritos, watching Wheel of Fortune. Nothing against Wheel of Fortune. But you got to get out and work. Got to put in the strides. Secondly, you have to be willing to learn. Okay? There's a lot of value in studying, as I said, reading, watching YouTube videos, learning from experts, going to seminars and so forth, having a coach or a mentor. It's all important, but you also need to be open to feedback from those surrounding you, not just mentors and experts, but colleagues and coworkers and employees. One of the great signs of a fantastic leader is someone who is open to input. We have an open door policy at our company. We've built our company based on input from the field. And I think it's really important. You got to be able to delegate. It's hard for me. It's something I struggle with, but the better you do it, the better you'll do. And then lastly, you have to be able to pivot. I've talked in more than one occasion, the whole conversation, the whole monologue in January was about accountability. I talk about the book, The Oz Principle, and making sure that we are, as they call it, above the line. Make sure we don't fall into a victim pattern. Making sure that we keep asking, what else can I do? One of the most important things we can do is ask for help, right? It's not being a victim to say, I need help, and could you help me? And I need you to help shoulder this load. I need your ideas, your feedback. Tell me where I'm wrong. Tell me where we could do better. It's a really important piece of being a disciplined and effective leader, parent, etc. Try it with your kids. You might be amazed at the feedback they give you if you're open to receiving it. It's kind of like a GPS, right? We're driving, we take the wrong turn, and what's the first thing we hear? Recalculating. Well, that is life. Recalculating on an ongoing basis. We We recalculate all the time in our company's certainty management. We're doing constantly making improvements in how we train, the products we represent, and how we communicate. The list goes on and on. Two of my favorite business books are one called Good to Great by Jim Collins, and another one, not really a business book, although it could be considered as such, but this book called Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. Highly recommend you read both of these books or listen to them on Audible or something like that. Jim Collins talks about what it takes for companies to go from good to great. He gives several examples, highlighted Walgreens and Wells Fargo as a couple of examples. One of the things he teaches in his book is what he calls the hedgehog principle. He says a hedgehog doesn't do much, but it does one thing really well. When it feels threatened, when it's in trouble, it curls up in a ball, sticks all its spines out, and nobody wants to touch it. Nobody's going to eat a hedgehog who has his spines pointing out. And he compares this to companies that have done a really good job and gone from good to great as companies who have done one thing and done it well. They picked their lane and they excelled at it. I think there's some value in considering that in our own lives, to pick one area to do it really well. I tell my salespeople all the time, we have 7 different divisions, all focused on improving profitability for clients. We help with banking and benefits and cost reduction and tax credit recovery and lending and so forth and so on. But I tell them all to pick a lane, pick one area, one product even, that you're passionate about, you can become an expert in, and focus on that. Make that your conversation. Make that your expertise. We can always upsell and cross-sell and add in other services at a later date. Same thing goes in our lives. When we want to become a more disciplined person or accomplish our goals, we don't tackle it all at once. I have a goal of several things each day, but I start with getting out of bed. Start with jumping in the pool. I read my book. I do them the same time every day. I do it consistently, but I started with one and then I added another and then I added another. Pick a lane. We have a product called the Corporate Benefits Initiative that provides 15 free benefits to employers at zero cost to them. It's paid for by tax savings that we create. They actually net about $500 in tax savings per employee. That's our lane. That's what opens the door for us. And then we can always do more as we get to know them. Malcolm Gladwell in Outliers says that it takes 10,000 hours to be an expert. Talks about the fact that, as I've said, we have to be patient. He said, don't give up. Keep at it. Keep asking, what else can I do? Another book I like is called The Consistency Chain by Jim Packard and George Campbell, and they talk about the 80-20 rule, how some of us are 80%ers, some of us are 20%ers. If you learn how to make it work, lessons they teach in that book, it can help you be successful, whichever category you fall into. And most of us fall in one or the other. Jim's been a great mentor and a friend. He makes no excuses. He's in his 70s and he's doing more today than most people do their whole life. It reminds me of another friend and mentor, and I'll end with this. Mr. Elvin McFarland, Coach McFarland. He was a track coach for 50 years. He actually coached Jackie Joyner-Kersee, an Olympic gold medalist, years ago, for 50 years. Now he owns a veterans organization called Honor to Our Heroes. He spent his entire life training athletes how to be disciplined, and now helping veterans to get out of homelessness, create more certainty in their lives by modeling, teaching, and living a life of discipline. It's my honor to know these examples. Ultimately, it's about becoming more, getting out of the status quo, out of the rut. And, as you do so, remember to cut yourself some slack, be disciplined in patience, in perspective, in forgiveness. No one is perfect, so don't expect it. Okay, start the day right, hit the ground running. If you want to jump in some cold water, take a cold shower. That's my recommendation, but keep it keep it going. Start right, end right. You will create a domino effect in your life and in the lives of others that will astound you. You'll see ripple effects from your example, from the energy, from the success. And if nothing else, you'll feel great. You will also attract into your life more of what you're creating, more synergy, more energy, more opportunity. I end every email I send with the words onward and upward. And that should be our goal. I wish you the same. Go onward and go upward. Have a great weekend. Do better tomorrow than we did today. That's what it's all about. You can do it. I have faith in you. I'm going to keep trying myself. I'd love to hear from you what your own efforts, challenges, and secrets are. How are you doing it? Wish the very best. Thanks for joining me here. Each week it's like a little family reunion, and I really appreciate you taking the time to find more certainty in your life and hopefully share it with others. I wish you the very best. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you next Friday. Take care, and bye for now.
Thanks for tuning into today's episode of Finding Certainty. We hope you've gained some more insight into how to create more certainty in your own business or nonprofit. Join us next week for another taste of the Certainty Experience. Until then, we wish you greater certainty in all that you do.